It's time for the MadDawg Show, coming to you from the heart of the Bulldog Nation. The MadDawg Show is proudly sponsored by Alex Smith Garden Design, Griffin Lumber and Hardware, The Sanford Company, Sellers Construction, Bib Distributing, Butler Automotive, Pelicano Construction, The Dog Bone, Go Clean Co., Macon Monogramming, Fincher's Barbecue, Bulldog Illustrated, Cranford Chiropractic, Walthall Oil, and now, here he is, the MadDawg.
Oh, wow. So that intro was the song Rockin' Horse by the Allman Brothers Band that was written by Warren Haynes, a guitarist, who was in Macon this weekend with the Tedeschi Trucks Band, which is arguably the hottest touring rock and roll band in the land. And so I got to take just a minute to talk about that and just how magical it was. The new amphitheater was just jam-packed with the good people. Old friends, new friends, old friends that I hadn't seen in forever, and the years just instantly melted away as we got caught up. And so Warren's band, Government Mule, played Rockin' Horse. I was rocking my Warren's House t-shirt that has the Waffle House logo. Got stopped many times for compliments, pictures were taken and whatnot. But the song Rockin' Horse, it's like, it's one of my all-time favorites. It's kind of a bit of a de facto theme song of mine. And if you listen to the lyrics and you know me, you'll understand quickly why that is. So I'm just going to read you a few lines. Here it goes. My guardian angel wears a hard hat, said the boy with the microphone. And by the way, this song came out before I knew anything about a microphone. Said the boy with the microphone, else I wouldn't be standing here today. Ever since I was a young boy, couldn't leave well enough alone. Always trouble standing in my way. Making sense to anyone out there yet? Up, down, anywhere but in the middle. Off the wagon, under the wheel again. All or nothing, never could do just a little. Never could leave it alone. Got to ride that rocking horse. Hard living be the death of me, lead me to an early grave. And wow, those lyrics were so self-applicable to me back in the day that it's like Warren Haynes wrote it for me. Been a couple thousand days since I was riding that rocking horse, and it's so great to be good now. And I'm so grateful that I literally got to see the best rock and roll band on planet Earth right here in Macon, concurrently to Dogs versus Cats on the plains in Jordan-Hare at night after an Auburn bye week when they were retiring Cam Newton's jersey, and all of the juice that I just named was against the Dogs. The Tigers had all of the juju and they had all of the voodoo. But then the SEC sent Alabama's refs, and we know how much they hate Auburn, right? Seriously, the refs were atrocious. They reviewed every other play. And while I understand that my Auburn friends are upset about the play, and by the way, y'all, we got to give this play a name since we're going to be talking about it till the end of time. I'm going to run a couple of my ideas by my consultant, Buffalo. But until someone comes up with a better name, I'm going with Fumbleicity, or should it be Fumblicious? I think it should be Fumblicious because that's delicious, and that is what that play was. And for the record, the only thing that the refs got wrong on it was the errant whistle that was blown, because that play was, in fact, a Dog's touchdown. And if your poor eyesight cannot see that C.J. Allen clearly punched that ball before it crossed the plane that we all know so well extends into infinity, then I'll let you borrow these spectacles that I'm wearing right here, because C.J. Allen did, in fact, punch that ball loose before it crossed the plane. 100%, zero doubt. But I'm going to play along with the Auburn crowd right now, just for funsies. And let's say that you do score, and then it's now 17-0. You still don't score any more points for the whole rest of that game, and we score 20, and so you lose 20-17. Oh, but that play took all of the wind out of our sails, you might be saying from the WDE crowd. And look, that's just loser talk, so save it. You're better than that, Auburn. You're better than that. And as you know, life's not fair. Life's full of adversity. Winners overcome it, and losers just whine about it. But to be totally fair, my Auburn friends are not whining at me. I'm speaking of the internet chatter that's out there that's deafening. I only have one Auburn friend who's making excuses, and that's Craig Davis, a.k.a. Skip, a.k.a. Stinky. I'm talking to you, and I still love you, but you've got to let it go. And like I said, I've got a therapist. I'll be happy to give you her number. She's great. But I do have to give a big shout out to your company. And your company is Safety Zone. And Safety Zone is who set us up here in our studio with the Wi-Fi, the consulting on the TV and hanging the TV and on the laptop that's fixed everything and the camera. So if you have any Wi-Fi needs or any consultations needed on PCs or your TV or anything else, or even if you have alarm needs, because that's where the name Safety Zone comes from, look up Safety Zone and call Craig Davis, because those Safety Zone people will take care of you. And I promise, Craig, it's only going to hurt for a little while. So I kept up with the football game during a rock concert, and it was really weird, kind of surreal to be going in to this concert. And I know that the Auburn, Georgia game is going to be going on, and I'm not going to be watching it. And it wasn't easy. It was a bit of an emotional roller coaster. The game was just kind of hanging around in the back of my head, and it made musical focus difficult, but I'm a professional, so I made that happen. But I came home after the concert, and I watched the game until 3 a.m. And I got to say that when you watch a game that you already know that you've won, it's glorious. There's no stress, and there's no pressure. And there's replays galore, and it's 1 a.m., so nobody is texting you or calling you or bugging you, and it's just me and my sleepy dog, Lulu, just savoring every second. And the game ended, and everyone lived happily ever after. The end. Couple of factoids for the Bobo haters out there, and I know there are legions of you. Who leads the SEC in points scored? That's right, it's the Georgia Bulldogs with 120 points. Tennessee has 116. No other team has over 100 points. Which team in the SEC, probably saw this graphic floating around out there, which team is the youngest team? Well, the youngest team is Tennessee. The next youngest team is UGA. So the two teams scoring the most points are the youngest. I'm still trying to make a correlation there. Right now, I don't have one. It'll come to me eventually, I promise. Also, Noah Thomas finally caught a meaningful ball, y'all, and it was so good to see. Congrats to him. We're pulling for your year to be a crescendo. And if you don't know what crescendo means, look it up because it's a cool world. Now, we got Ole Miss. They struggled mightily against the Washington State Cougars when they were given the mascot name Cougars. It meant something completely different. Now I would make the case that it's a cooler mascot name than it used to be. And that game against them was a trap game. The definition of it was a noon kick in Oxford. It was hot. Students were probably still hungover or hadn't even been to bed yet. But I'm so glad that Ole Miss won, because you never want to play somebody, especially a good team, coming after a loss in what was arguably a track game. So they're going to show up at Sanford Stadium. Not that they were going to be any less frisky, but they're not coming in wounded. And I would much rather play a team who is in that headspace. So, again, if they had lost, it probably would have knocked a little bit of the shine off of that game, but they didn't. So here comes game day to Athens to make an already bad traffic situation hellish. Good problems for Dogs fans to have. And more on that game later, because now it's time for the MadDawg Dirty Dozen. And remember, this poll is like none other because it actually moves each week. It's fluid. It's both reactive and predictive, and it's mercurial, just like me. And it's totally subjective, just like the playoff committee. And after I kicked James Franklin and his Nittany Pussycats out of my Dirty Dozen last week, they were so despondent and depressed and disappointed in themselves that they lost their third game in 15 days at home to Northwestern. And the Penn State powers that be had seen enough of that movie. So much so that they paid James Franklin $50 million just to go away. Which begs the question, did he want to be fired? Because he coached like he really wanted to be fired, which also begs the question, isn't it kind of an absurd buyout clause that's counter motivational to winning? I mean, if he's over it and there's a $50 million check waiting on him at the other end of the pink slip, a case can be made that the guy might be phoning it in. Like he's had enough. He's had enough of all the people hating on him all the time, or he could take $50 million and ride off into the sunset. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that's the kind of head games that might be running through your mind, as you know that big check's there. Other questions I have. Does Florida want him? Does Arkansas want him? Does Clemson want him? Does Virginia Tech want him? Does Auburn want him? Because, as we know, Auburn's always looking for the next best guy. These are questions that keep me up at night, but I digress again. Hovering just outside the Dirty Dozen are the Oklahoma Sooners, who came crashing down back to earth after Texas torpedoed them in the Red River Shootout. Also hovering outside of the Dirty Dozen are two teams with two losses, two teams left for dead, two teams that America loves to hate, two teams that, should they make the playoffs, will be the greatest comeback since Lazarus. And when reached for comment, Lazarus said, I'm really pulling for Notre Dame, even though Jesus really isn't signaling for a touchdown. And while I like Sark and his redemption story, I can't stand seeing Matthew McConaughey on the sidelines for Texas games. It's obnoxious. And I feel that, Lazarus. I feel that. So I cursed Missouri last week by promoting them into the number 12 position, and they showed up to the party and bombed against Bama. So who in the world do I put at 12? I had a long conversation with myself, and I reminded myself that, again, the MadDawg Dirty Dozen is reactive. It's predictive. It's punitive, and lots of other words that end in iv. So after playing Temple and Wake Forest and Vag Tech, I have to regress Georgia Tech to 12. And I would apologize to my Tech friends for that, but they would know that it wasn't sincere. Tech. All you've got to do is just keep winning. That's all the world is asking you to do, and you're doing it. Keep winning against a very, very, very mediocre schedule, and that is insulting to the word mediocre. At 11 last week was once again the Texas Tech Red Raiders, and they remain there because I refuse to believe in them, and I want to believe in them, and I do not want to believe in them, and neither do you. Tennessee was idle. They had a bye week, and you know that a bye week angers me, and it must be punished. So the Volunteers are backed up to number 10. Oregon drops respectably to 9 after laying a duck egg in their own stadium against Indiana. Also, Lanning, can you tone it down a notch in your press conferences and their intensity? Have everyone just a little bit nervous. It's getting weird, man. All right, LSU remains at 8 with an away game against Vandy looming. a sleepy noon game in Nashville, which is 11 a.m. to us, and it's time to put up or shut up for both teams. The Dogs stay at 7 because even though we won, Auburn has 3 losses, and you don't get to move up in that scenario. Why? Because the MadDawg Dirty Dozen employs logic and reason and statistical analysis and good old-fashioned common sense. Those are things that are rare in this crazy old world that we live in, so you're welcome. At 6 is where Ohio State chin nuts stay after a win over overrated Illinois. The chin nuts remain at 6 because of your soft schedule and your even softer coach. Sidebar, the only dye job in college football worse than Nick Saban's hair is Ryan Day's beard, and it's oh so weird. And both of you guys need to swallow your pride and just go natural, because seriously, it's creepy and it's cringy. You both need to stop living a lie. And speaking of Nick Saban, at number 5 is Alabama, who just keeps looking better and better, unlike Nick Saban's dye job. They find ways to win. They have beaten undefeated us. They have beaten undefeated Vandy and now undefeated Missouri. The rivalry game with the Volunteers this week will be epic, and it will be at night, and it will be in Tuscaloosa, and that place is going to be on fire. Texas A&M moves up to number 4, and they're good. But are they the 4th best team in the country? I just can't get comfortable with that, but I literally can't move them. They're kind of winning the battle of attrition, and they keep winning, and people keep losing and falling back like Oklahoma. All right. Here's a weird sentence that I never thought I would say. The Indiana Hoosiers are ranked number 3 at football. Their coach is hard to like, so I don't like him and admit it. You don't like him either. The Fighting Lane Kiffins move up to number 2 right before they come to town, and they do this despite their fugly win. And they're coming to Athens. That's right. Old, stale, stanky piss. And it's going to be a backyard brawl, y'all. Kiffin versus Kirby, and I got my money on the smart one. And still on top at number 1, part immovable object, part irresistible force. Once again, it's the Carson Beck-led Miami Hurricanes, and they continue their pillow fight of a schedule this week against Louisville in a game that only their family and friends will watch. And I want you to know that this week is sponsored by Sellers Construction. And Raider told me to tell y'all to go out and kick this week's ass, or else he's going to come and kick yours. So if you're watching at home, this is how I clap for myself right now. This is how dog fans clap. And if you're a dog fan and you can't hear me clapping, then you know why. And so that's all I got to say, y'all. Have a great week. MadDawg over and
Anywhere, honey, in the